Warning: due to the content of this episode's film, topics such as sexual assault and incest will be briefly mentioned and discussed. Viewer discretion is advised. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we speak Merry Christmas? Merry Christmas, everybody. Oh my goodness. Hello. Merry Christmas and welcome back to Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. This is a podcast where we talk about movies over some coffee. And currently we are in our Uncommon Christmas series, second edition. This is a series where we talk about not your average Christmas movies over some festive holiday coffees. I'm your host, Nick Delaney, no relation to Saint Nick, and today we are actually here to talk about the 2006 remake of Black Christmas, directed by Glenn Morgan and starring Katie Cassidy, Kristen Klock, Michelle Trachtenberg, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And for our coffee review, we're going to be talking about various holiday drinks from Compass Coffee in Washington, D.C. Wow, we've come full circle, everyone. Last year, my first review of the Uncommon Christmas series was Black Christmas, the original from 1974. And I just happened to watch the 2006 remake recently, and I thought, what better way to start Uncommon Christmas this year than with the remake? So we're going full circle, but it's not going to be the same review shot for shot because this movie is very, very different. But before we get into all that, hello, hi everyone, Merry Christmas, how's it going? Hopefully, if my schedule is right, this will be coming out on or around Christmas Day. So, Merry Christmas. I hope it's going well. I hope you got everything you wanted. I hope the gifts you gave were well received and I don't know, many memories were made. And if you're not celebrating Christmas, I hope you're having a lovely Thursday. Anyways, to get into things, today we are talking about this movie over some coffee from Compass Coffee in Washington, D.C. And Compass Coffee started in DC in 2014 with the belief that good coffee doesn't have to be complicated, it just has to point you in the right direction to start your day. Isn't that sweet? And it was founded by two Marines, which is really cool. I really, really like this place. Every location I've been to is consistently good, which is really nice for a larger chain. I mean, you see so many other like huge global chains in DC, and I think they're all like really bad, but this is like a local chain and it just is always great. I've been here so many times since moving to DC, but I don't know why I haven't reviewed it on the show until now, but I've been there so much recently, so I thought what better time to do it than for Uncommon Christmas. I've tried a lot of different drinks from there, non-seasonal, but recently I've been having a lot of their festive ones, of course. Some of those include the gingerbread latte and their peppermint mocha. I also had some of their fall drinks like their apple cider donut latte and their maple latte. All of these drinks were spectacular. I actually don't know what type of syrup they use for these, if they're like from a third-party vendor or if they make these syrups themselves. I don't know how that works, but all of these flavors are very unique and very distinct to Compass Coffee, which is really nice, I think, because, everywhere has a peppermint mocha, everywhere has a gingerbread latte. So what makes this special? And it is special. I think these syrups taste really good, and I think their lattes are really like something to write home about. Every latte I've had at Compass is just pristine. It's always perfect. It always has such like a nice layer of foam. They always put latte art on top, which is really nice for a chain to do. And yeah, it's always just perfect. And when I go to other chains, sometimes it's like, oh, this is not foamed enough, or this isn't hot enough, or this espresso doesn't taste too good, or something's wrong. So I really like their attention to quality here. And plus, all of their cafe locations are really nice. They always have a nice ambiance in there. There's lots of seating. All of the cafes look unique in some way. The baristas are always friendly and nice and point you in the right direction. Yeah, I really like them. I go to the Shaw location the most because that one is the closest coffee shop to my house. It is like 2 blocks away, which is really nice. But I've also been to both of the Navy Yard locations quite a bit, and those are great as well. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, know that. But if you are located in DC, I highly recommend downloading their app. This really sounds like a sponsorship. I'm sorry, but I do mean this. I really recommend downloading their app because they have like flash deals sometimes. And this isn't like other corporate coffee shops where it's like, if you order right now, you get 50 cents off. Like, really not great deals. Like, why do I care? They have really great deals here. And it's like, if you load $25 onto your app card, you get a bonus $25 for free, which $50 for the price of 25 is just a great deal. So that's another reason why I've been going there so much recently is they have these flash deals and they're like, hey, if you put 25 on your card, we'll give you another 25. So I just have like a lot of money to spend with them. And really this holiday season, they are the only place I've been going to for my festive drinks, which is a problem when it comes to this series where I'm supposed to be reviewing different places. But I don't mind it because all of their drinks are really, really good. I also tried one of their breakfast sandwiches for the first time, and that was also spectacular. So I highly recommend Compass Coffee. I highly recommend downloading their app because they have those flash deals. They are just great, and they're located all across DC. I don't know about like different states or cities or anything. I think it's just like a DMV thing right now, but very, very good. I really like them. Just a great place for locals to go to. So yeah, they get the Nick pick for sure. And I'm just thinking so much about the holidays right now. I'm back at my parents' house. It is Christmas Eve, which shows you just how far in advance I record these episodes. But I drove down here, and I haven't shared this yet on the show, but during my hiatus, I got a cat. That's right, I got a cat. And he has brought me so much joy and love and fulfillment. I really have been having a great time with him. His name is Butters, and I got him from a foster parent, basically via a foster parent, but he was being like held by the shelter, I guess. So he was rescued. He was living on the streets before, and he definitely looks it. He's a little scruffy, but he's this little tiny kind of Maine Coon looking cat, which I know Maine Coons are supposed to be big cats, but he looks like one, just tiny. But I did that like reverse lookup thing on Apple where you can like search a picture for like what's in it. And it says he's part Siberian, which makes sense because he is so chatty. But he is just such a little gem. He is a treasure to me. I've had him for a month and a half now, almost 2 months, I think. And it's just been a great time so far. But I brought him back with me for the holidays to my parents' house. So he's trapped in my, not childhood bedroom, but my bedroom at my parents' house. He's trapped in here with me for the next few days, and he's exploring. He's wandering around right now. You might hear him from time to time because he is very chatty. And I want to use this time to say that either I speak cat or he speaks English. I really do believe this to be true. I'll get home from work and he'll give like a little, hey, well, like he's saying hello to me. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, hello, Butters. And he'd be like, hey, like, how are you? But he's very chirpy. He does like a lot of squeaking noises, just very talkative. And if he wants food, he will make it very clear. He'll cry. But he's very, very chatty. And I do believe that I can communicate with him somehow. Sometimes I don't always know what to say. There is sort of a language barrier, but I've done a good job so far breaking through that. And we've just been really vibing. I did take him to the vet for the first time though, and he has a double ear infection. They said something about a hematoma that he got while he was on the streets. I don't really know what that means. One of his ears is like damaged. I don't know if that's related to it or not. So I've been having to give him eardrops twice a day, every day, which is part of the reason why I brought him with me for the holidays. And he goes crazy when I have to put them in. Like, he's been the sweetest cat ever, but giving him these eardrops, like, that street cat really, really comes out. He just goes crazy, crazy. So I have to wrap him in like a towel and just like bundle him up like a burrito. He doesn't like it, but he's also just very dramatic. So I have to ignore him when I do that. But yeah, he has been such a little treasure to me the past few months, and I'm very excited to have him. A lot has happened during my hiatus, so that was one of the big updates I was excited to share. But what I want to talk about in this episode, I think, my main coffee thought, if you will, what makes a good stocking stuffer? What makes a good stocking stuffer? That's quite the question. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. I I think it really varies from family to family. I think every family puts different things in their stockings, and it's been interesting living in DC with my roommate David, name drop. Hey David, if you're listening, I know you aren't. He's big on stockings. That's like the one thing he likes about Christmas. Other than that, he's Ebenezer Scrooge, um, which has been like our joke. But he put some things in my stockings and like kind of blew me away. And I was like, he is really good at picking out things to put in stockings. It's like a few bits of candy here and there. This really cute like eyeglasses wipe, but it has like the DC Metro map on it, which is really cute. And then there was some cologne in there, some Boy Smells cologne. And what else? Dubai chocolate. And I think one other thing. But just like a pair of socks, a really cute pair of socks. Like, and that made me think to myself, like, this is such a good assortment of stocking stuffers. It's not just like filled to the brim with candy, which I think can be too much. It's not like way too like extravagant. It's just like a good assortment of like really thoughtful and useful items. Like, I'm going to wear that pair of socks. I have been using that cologne and it smells really nice. And I have been holding out that eyeglasses cleaner in the metro station. Like, how do I work the red line? Because the red line really confuses me because there's not really an east and a west. There's not really a north and a south. It's just kind of like two ends. And I'm like, girl, I don't know where Shady Grove and Glenmont are. It doesn't do. And I really hate going and it's like, oh, Shady Grove is that way. And it's like, girl, which way do I go to get to Chinatown? I don't know. I've been getting better with it, but red line has been like a mystery to me since it's kind of up and up, if that makes sense. Really good assortment. So thank you, David. But I've been thinking an assortment like that, I think is really good. Just kind of like a mix of like accessories, small clothing items, candy, and then also just like the heart of the stocking, which I think was the cologne. That was like a really good gift. So, what could you do? I think the first step is to get a few big bags of candy. And I don't think the good idea is to put that whole big bag in someone's stocking, which is what I did for David. So sorry about that. You don't put the whole big bag in. You get individually wrapped candies, and you just get like a small handful of those candies, put them in, a small handful of the other candies, put them in, a good mix. The thing about stockings is it has to be an assortment. Now, my next thing, do gift cards belong in stockings? That's a good question. I think yes, but there is a limit. I don't think there should be more than like 3 different types of gift cards in a stocking. And it's kind of like one of those things. I think a stocking is okay without a gift card. But when they're in there, that's kind of like a really good little treat, kind of as you're working your way down. But I think if there are way too many gift cards, that it gets to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a whole different gift. And I start to get like a little intimidated and I'm like, I didn't put gift cards in your stocking. It's like Santa went all out this year, you know? But I think like a pair of socks is a really good addition. Maybe like some mittens or I don't know, scarf or maybe a hat if you could fit it in there. But those are all like maybe just like kind of like little funny hats or something, not like a really nice quality thing, because that could be its own gift. That's the thing. I don't think that something that should be its own gift, like let's say if you got someone a really nice bracelet or necklace or earrings or something, yes, those things can fit in a stocking, but I think those are standalone gifts. They should be put to the side. I think stockings are a great place for variety, for assortment, for little things that can't stand on their own necessarily, but would be just like a lovely little treat if you put them in this giant sock. The cologne was a really nice surprise in my stocking this year. I don't know what I'm getting from Santa tomorrow. Me, 24 years old, wondering what I'm getting from Santa. You know the drill. But I do think that's a nice assortment. I do think like there's room for like a DVD like that you get out of the $5 bucket at Walmart or something. I'm holding the space for that in a stocking. What else could go in there? I think a pack of American Spirits could go in there. I think little airplane bottles of wine or little shot, like 99 bananas or something. Put that in there. Come on, throw that in. Throw that in. Especially the American Spirits. If you're listening to this, put some American Spirits in my stocking this year. Maybe a pack of Newports or something. A couple of lighters, you know? Nothing says Merry Christmas like that. So that is what I think makes a good stocking. Maybe to you, it's completely different, and that's okay. We all have our different traditions on Christmas. So I hope if you are confused about what should go in a stocking, or you're the type of person that puts whole bags of candy in there, I hope this was helpful. I hope you resonated with this coffee thought somehow, somewhat. I think it's time to talk about our movie. As you know, today we are discussing the 2006 remake of Black Christmas. Snowed into their campus house during the holidays, a group of sorority sisters start to receive terrifying, threatening phone calls as they learn that a Christmas-crazed killer is taking them out one by one. Black Christmas, 2006, was written and directed by Glenn Morgan. It was released December 25th, 2006. And as many of you know, the original of this movie, also titled Black Christmas, was released in 1974, written by Roy Moore, directed by Bob Clark, and it stars Olivia Hussey. I previously had a review of this movie, the original, in my first edition of Uncommon Christmas. It was the very first episode. So if you would like to hear my thoughts on that one, I will link it in the show notes. So, getting into the background, the research, mama, of this movie a little bit. This is Glenn Morgan's only other directing credit besides a movie called Willard. Apparently, Willard is also a remake, I think from a film that was also from the 70s. I have never heard of Willard, the remake or the original. So do with that what you will. I have heard of Black Christmas, but some people have not, I think. So it's interesting that both of these movies had remakes. I definitely think Black Christmas is the more popular one. It has more of a cult following, seeing how I've never heard of Willard, either Willards. And Glenn Morgan describes this as a loose remake and reimagining of the 1974 classic. And I think that that's a fair statement. I'm glad they didn't call it just like a remake, reboot, retelling, because I truly do think that this is an entirely different experience and movie. According to the director, there were several disputes between himself and Bob and Harvey Weinstein, and they were distributing the film through their Dimension Films over the tone of the script. So anyone who has watched the original, they know that that is truly like a terrifying movie. And while there are some comedic elements to it, it's really not at all like a Christmas slasher. Christmas is definitely the backdrop, but it's not self-aware that it's a Christmas movie. Like the kills are really not that holiday themed. Like there's no candy cane stabbings or killing someone with Christmas lights. As far as I remember, I only can remember the unicorn killing, which is in both movies, the glass unicorn. So I'm glad they didn't call it just a complete remake, because that film was very serious, I guess is a good way to put it. And it also didn't have a lot of answers. It really centered around the girls and Olivia Hussey's character. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. I also said that in the previous review I did on Black Christmas. So I never learned how to say her name. I'm so sorry, Olivia. Rest in peace. She's spectacular in that movie, by the way. It really centered around her character and her surviving kind of like this horrific thing. And it centered around kind of the trope of that movie, which, spoilers, the calls are coming from inside the house. That is like the climax of the movie, as she learns the killer is in the house with her all along, and that all of her sorority sisters have been picked off one by one. This movie is, like I said, a completely different experience because it really centers on the killer, or spoilers, if you care about the 2006 Black Christmas, spoilers, the killers, plural. It takes a lot of time at telling the backstory of Billy, who is the killer in this movie. I don't even remember if the original movie, the killer was named Billy or not. But there are actually flashbacks to the 70s, and it shows this killer growing up in the house, the sorority house. It used to be his house, and it shows the extreme abuse and sexual assault that he was victim to at the hands of his mother, who is just flat out evil. And it shows, oh, I'm going to have to put a content warning at the start of this episode, aren't I? It shows his sexual assault from his mother that caused her to be pregnant with his daughter slash sister. And this girl, this child of incest, turned out to be deformed, and but she was cherished by his mother and she was pampered and everything. And Billy, for years and years, was locked away in an attic. And Christmas was always kind of like a trigger for him. Horrible things would happen to him on Christmas. And so one year he killed his mother and his stepfather, I think, his mother's boyfriend. And he attacks his sister, doesn't kill her, but horribly disfigures her. She loses her eye, and he gets sent to a mental institution. Same thing with his sister, and of course, the mom and dad are dead. And it's kind of like a legend in the sorority house that, you know, that happened, and they have to give a present to Billy every year, or if they don't, they'll be cursed. So already going into this, there's a lot more lore. There are a lot more answers right off the bat. And I could see why a lot of people would be upset about that. Honestly, on any other day, I think I would be upset about that. I 100% prefer in my horror movies for things to be left unanswered. I like things to be obscure. I like things to be left up to interpretation. But since we already had that version of the movie in 1974, I don't really think it makes sense to have it again. So I'm going to say it. I actually quite enjoyed this version of the movie. Not just quite enjoyed. Can I be open, honest, vulnerable? I loved this version of the movie. And yes, this version of the movie was made in the early 2000s. There are so many problematic elements to this. Like, I'm not even going to get into the whole, like, fact of the matter that, what is her name? Agnes, the sister slash daughter. She was played by a man, I believe. So that's obviously very problematic. And how it's depicting men dressing up as women and how it, I don't know, depicts that as something threatening and something bad. So there's that. And then there's also kind of just some weird choices that are made with Billy's character. He has a rare liver disease that makes him completely yellow. And I think that lent itself to a lot of like really interesting imagery and horrifying moments. So sorry, family group chat is going off right now. I should have that. We don't need to love every single image someone sends, do we? Do we agree with that? I think so. It lent itself to a lot of really interesting imagery moments, but I can't name why. I just feel like there was something problematic there. And of course, these girls in the early 2000s, they were saying all sorts of fat shaming things. They were being problematic. They were being messy. This was in an era pre-Twitter. They were still using flip phones. They could do whatever they wanted and have no repercussions. So they just said some crazy stuff. But also, this film just went to a completely different level. It kind of, early 2000s slasher movies, it was kind of like this new wave. There was just a type of grittiness about it and um, unashamed quality. Like it really went to extreme lengths to just gross out and really disturb the viewer. And I can appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. I think that that is completely welcome in the slasher genre, and I hold the space for it. Now, was I disturbed by this movie? Was I grossed out? Was I like completely icked out by it? Yes, absolutely. For a variety of reasons, like the content warnings I just listed. Obviously, that stuff is just like flat out disturbing. But also, after Billy killed his parents, he got a cookie cutter and made flesh cookies from his mother's flesh and ate them with milk. And the police walked in and he was eating his mother's flesh like beef jerky. Like that is so fucked up. It was so disturbing. But I do appreciate that this film went to those lengths because why not? We're all here for a slasher movie. Show it to us. Like make our skin crawl. Like it is so messed up. But hey, that's the movie we signed up for. And again, if you want like more of a classic slasher, that's what the 1974 version is there for. So I kind of just like already got way into the review, but I do appreciate that this film tried to do something completely different and wasn't scared to kind of veer from the original. Another thing about this one is that it was funny as hell. This movie is so funny, and it wasn't scared to be funny. Of course, it was going to all these extreme lengths. So I like that it kind of was self-aware of that, and it kind of poked fun at itself, like, hey, yeah, now instead of like in 1974 when we were just doing like kitchen knife killing and glass unicorn killing, we're now doing candy canes. We're now seeing people impaled by Christmas trees. People are getting strung up with Christmas lights. We're eating flesh cookies with milk. Crazy shit is happening. This is a funny movie sometimes. Sometimes all you can do is laugh. And I think it gives permission to its audience to laugh. In the very opening, it opens in the insane asylum that Billy is in, and the prison guard is going to every single door, and he's saying like, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and he's handing off their food. And instead of like normal prison food, it's like candy canes, cookies, and milk, or something like that. So that's already kind of goofy. And he's going, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And he opens one, he's like, oh, happy birthday. And he goes to the next one, and it zooms in on who he said happy birthday to, and it's Jesus. Jesus is in the insane asylum. So it's just like really stupid shit like that. And it's stuff throughout the entire movie. Like the dialogue is just, it's perfect. I love the dialogue in this. It is so stupid. And it is just dialogue that explains itself. It leaves absolutely nothing to interpretation. Like a character will go outside and be like, and we'll know she's going outside to check on the circuit breaker or something. And we see her going out, but then we go back to two characters inside. It's like, hey, where did Becky just go? Oh, she just went outside to check the circuit breaker. I hope nothing bad happens to her. It's like, obviously now something bad is going to happen to her. We just saw her go out. You're just repeating it now. It's just like really stupid stuff. There was all this stuff at the beginning about like this one character having sex with like this other character's boyfriend, and they recorded it. So there's this porno open on her computer, and it's like this suspenseful moment. It's like, oh, would the girlfriend find out that there's porno on the computer and her friend betrayed her? And of course there's like this giant cat fight when that happens, and they think it's the killer upstairs. And the mother of the house, who actually is played by one of the girls from the original film, she is just cracking one-liners like one after the other. There's this other character, I forget her name, but she's like the oddball sister, and she has like glasses that make her eyes really big. And they're like, Hey, loser, where are you going? Did you not have anywhere to go for Christmas? Oh, that's so funny. Like, it's just like, I don't know, girls being evil, like mean girl type energy. And one of the mean girls, Gretchen Wiener, she's actually in this. So it just works so well. This is like fresh off the heels, fresh off the what? How's the saying go? It's fresh off the tracks of Mean Girls. So it just makes sense. Like, I love that they translated Mean Girls into this setting because it's just it was meant to happen. It's kind of like Scream Queens mixed with the original. I loved it so much and it was so funny. And it had a classic kind of like 80s slasher ending where it's kind of like a fake out where the two final girls go to the hospital together and it's like, oh, we survived. Like the house burnt down. They're definitely dead. And of course they're not. They were zipped up in the body bags and they were in the morgue and the body bags unzipped and the brother and sister slash father daughter. The two killers are still alive and they go like into the ceiling and they drop into like the hospital room and they have to fight again and they're running through the hospital and everything. And then we get our one final girl, of course, and she kills Billy by pushing him off like a railing. He falls like several flights down and gets impaled by a Christmas tree, and that's the final shot. I mean, it's just perfect. I just adored this movie. Also, some really I these killers were just genuinely really scary, I think, which I think is really unique in a movie like this, a slasher that also kind of leans into being a comedy, doesn't take itself too seriously. These killers were genuinely very scary. When we see Agnes kind of as an adult for the first time, this is also a twist because we don't know that there's two killers in the house. We don't know that Agnes is still alive and still there. We see her and she has a false eye in, and it's like glowing yellow. It's like a bright, almost lit up yellow color. It is so shocking. And of course, just the fact that she's played by a man, it's very uncanny in a way because we think it's Billy, but it's not. And again, like I said, I think that's very problematic if you read into it, but you know, it was scary nonetheless. Just the way that they showed it and framed the imagery there. Framed the imagery there. I'm so good at reviewing movies. I just have a way with words. I'm just rambling. I'm just rambling now. And then, of course, when we see Billy, his skin is bright yellow. Again, not sure how to feel about how we depict things here, but it is uncanny and it is shocking to see. And especially Billy's character, he crawls through the walls and the floors of the house, and we get shots of him just like on all fours, and it looks really scary and wrong. And then there's also shots of him like peeking through holes and like a girl would be taking a shower. Of course, in a early 2000s slasher movie, we get a girl like taking her towel off and we see her boobs and she gets into the shower and she's like, ah, ah. And all she does is just get wet and she walks out. Like, girl, you didn't put any soap on. You didn't wash your face. You didn't do anything. And she walks out and she walks right over one of the holes in the floor. And we just see this bright yellow eye. And it is so scary. I really enjoyed it. There's certain moments in this film I would love to talk about, but I forgot. I forgot all of the moments. I think you should watch this movie. If you're not really queasy when it comes to slasher movies, please go watch this. Please go watch this. It is such a good time. It is so fun. I cannot say watch this with mom and dad and grandma on Christmas Day. I really cannot recommend that. I would maybe watch this with some close friends who you can have a laugh with. I had such a good experience while watching this as well. I went to Alamo Drafthouse, as I always do. They were having an event called a December, how do I say it? A December to Dismember. And this event was two Christmas slasher movies back to back, and they were mystery movies, so I didn't know what I was going to see. The first one was Maniac Cop 2, and the second was this one. Maniac Cop 2, barely a Christmas movie. Also, did not see Maniac Cop 1. Also, I've never heard of Maniac Cop ever. I asked my parents about it. I was like, hey, is this like a movie that's like on your radar that you've ever seen? And they were like, I have never heard of that. So I really don't know where that came from, but it got like quite a reaction from the crowd when it opened. So I'm guessing it has a cult following or something. Cannot recommend that one. I did not have a fun time watching it. I was actually thinking about walking out, just giving up on the whole double feature thing. But Black Christmas started playing, and I was like, okay, I do want to see this. And I had such a great time. This was such a privilege to see in theaters because the crowd was laughing. They were having a good time. Like, no one was taking this movie seriously. And I don't think anyone should. This movie was meant to be watched kind of like, you know, in a light-hearted mood, like in a laughing mood. So I'm glad like I got that experience because sometimes when I watch something at home by myself, I'm taking it seriously and I don't give myself permission to laugh at it. And I'm kind of like rolling my eyes. So yeah, I just talked really, really fast for a very long time, but I was really excited to talk about this movie. So I'm glad I brought the podcast back. I'm glad I could talk about this with you all. Um, I cannot believe I just like ran through my thoughts on the movie. I wasn't even done with my background on like the notes here. So let me get back to that. There's a few other details that I think are really interesting about this. So where I think where this all came from is Bob and Harvey Weinstein. They had critiques about the tone of the script. I think they wanted it to be more serious, kind of like the 1974 original. But as you can see, this was released differently. And this was also released on Christmas Day in the United States, which garnered heavy criticism, but it did have commercial success. It grossed 21.5 million worldwide, and it only had a budget of $9 million. And then it made $30.1 million in home video sales. It was panned by critics who took issue with the screenplay because, like I said, it's really stupid, but I think really good. They also took issue with the characters and excessive violence in this movie. Bob Clark, though, who was the director of the original Black Christmas, he was actually the producer of this film, and he gave Glenn Morgan his blessing to explore things that were left out of the original. So I really appreciate that. Bob Clark recognized that there's no point in making the same movie twice, so he was like, yeah, go for it, kind of explore like the killer, his background, like try to make something with that. And I like that Glenn Morgan just went for it. There's also an alternate ending of this film in Europe, which is shorter and it features a different death for Billy. I think it's kind of like a lighter, not as graphic death, which is interesting because considering everything else that happens in this film, I don't think Billy's death was all that graphic. Maybe it's just the impact or the imagery of it all. I think that when this came out, people really wanted to take it seriously, which is why it didn't do so well. I don't know why like expectations were not set. Maybe the trailer like was really serious and people expected like a serious remake of the original. I don't know what they were expecting. This movie, like I said, was released on Christmas Day and had heavy criticism from a variety of conservative and Christian groups for releasing a slasher movie on Christmas Day. They thought it was blasphemous, sacrilegious, and obviously all of the holiday-related violence in this film they thought was just extremely disrespectful to the holiday. And I thought that Glenn Morgan actually had a really good response to this. He cited a 2005 case in Virginia where there was a murder-suicide of a family in Virginia, and he cited that bad things do in fact happen on Christmas. Really gruesome, violent, horrible things happen on Christmas. So he said, why not allow this space for that in film? I think that's a really good response. I think that just because something is Christmas related, it doesn't have to be, I don't know, rainbows and sunshine and snowflakes and hot chocolate and everything. It can be, I don't know, sharp candy canes stabbing people and glass unicorns. Whatever. And looking back to a very early Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life, which I would say is an uncommon Christmas movie, and I might be reviewing that soon. Who knows? We'll see. That is a Christmas movie that also has a very dark subject matter. It deals with suicide and mental health and self-esteem, a variety of really serious, heavy topics. Of course, it's not quite poking fun at itself like this movie is, but it's very heavy, and it's not exactly like that common Christmas theme of sunshine and happiness and gift giving and ribbons and bows and everything wonderful. So I think that there's always the purpose of Uncommon Christmas. A purpose of it is to show that there's always a space for kind of heavier, weirder, darker stories in Christmas time. Christmas Carol. Hello. Hello. We talked about it last Christmas. We're going to talk about it again. The first ever Uncommon Christmas story. Except maybe it's not that uncommon, but that is a dark ghost story, a horror story told at Christmas time. There has always been space for horror and tragedy and all sorts of crazy stuff at Christmas. Bad things still happen at Christmas. The world does not pause Christmas morning. All of that to say, I really, really do love this movie. It was one of those movies on Letterboxd where I felt such an urge to rate it over 4 stars, but I felt like that would have been just too much if I rated it over 4. Like, people would have looked at it and be like, oh boy, what are you talking about? So I only rated it 4, which is higher than the original Black Christmas for me. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed how wacky it is. It just like is completely committed to the bit. It is the ultimate Christmas slasher, I think, even surpassing the original, I would say, in terms of just like being a slasher movie that is holiday related. It is just so wacky. I also love how they translate kind of like the phone drama to this film. And they didn't leave obviously phones work a lot different in the year 2006 than they did in the 70s, but they didn't leave phones completely out of it. They found a way to make it work and to still make it scary and suspenseful and kind of a mystery. I did, however, in the original, I like the way the killer sounds on the phone a bit more. This one was a little bit too Scream inspired, while the first one was kind of like Looney Tunes craziness, very off-putting. This one was kind of just like, whatever. That's like how a killer sounds. I love this movie so much. I am so glad that I watched it. And thank you, Alamo, for showing this, because I don't think I would have watched it otherwise. This is great. I love this movie. Definitely getting a Nick pick. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful, lovely, amazing Christmas. Please, please, if you get a call and someone is talking about we're family now, Agnes, mommy, don't do it, hang up the damn phone. Hang up the damn phone this Christmas. Maybe make cookies using flour and dough and sugar and chocolate chips and not the dead remains of family members. Maybe do that. Still drink it with milk because it always goes well with milk, as we saw in this movie. Maybe use soap and shampoo when you take a shower. Don't drink too much. Definitely reserve a gift for Billy, or else your entire sorority will be killed off. But above all, have a Merry Christmas. Safe travels. I hope you get everything on your list and more. I hope there is a pack of American spirits in your stocking. As always, stream the Uncommon Christmas Companion Playlist Volume 2. I have that link in the show notes for Apple Music and Spotify. Lots of fun Christmas songs you probably haven't heard before on that list. Everyone, I'm going to stop talking. Butters is walking up. It's time for his medicine. Hey, Butters. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. Goodbye.